Hi guys, welcome. Today we're going to be installing a Burger Tuning JB4 on the 2024 Mini Cooper Clubman. So what is a JB4? Well, it is a performance computer. It's technically what they would call a piggyback, which means that it has these harnesses that go in between the sensors, and this interrupts and adjusts certain sensor values to modify your car and produce more boost, more power, etc. So in my mind, I put performance computers in there's 4 different categories. There is a standalone, which means that you are buying something like a Link ECU or Haltech or something like that, and you're having that run everything and you're not using the factory systems. There is a flash tune, which is when you take your factory ECU, you unlock it, and you load a custom tune on it. That's what my 2016 John Cooper Works has. And then there are piggybacks like this. And some of them are smarter than others. So there are some piggybacks that simply go in between one sensor, and all they're doing is they're saying, your target boost pressure is this, and it should be this, and it's modifying your car and producing more boost without being aware of other sensor values. Higher end manufacturers like Burger Tuning, or like Burger Motorsports and Dynan and APR, which is the one that I'm the most familiar with, do it, is they interrupt certain sensors. So we're actually interrupting 3 sensors in this case. And they are looking at different parameters from around the engine. And then they also, in this case of Burger, have an OBD2 connector that can read all of the sensor values for the whole car. So the idea is that this is a safe but revertible tune that you don't need to send your ECU out to be flashed. It can be installed on any car, and it's fairly easy to do so. This is going to have to run through the firewall into my cabin and connect to my OBD2 port under the driver's side. And then there is also a Bluetooth adapter, which is this guy, that connects to my phone, and that allows me to adjust the tune from the driver's seat. So the first thing I want to do is I want to install this, and we have to connect this to that because this is an accessory. So there are 2 different ways that you can modify. Well, there's really 3 different ways that you can modify. You can choose to not have any connection at all, and you can adjust from your BC button in the Mini. You can buy a Bluetooth adapter, which is this. That is the most expensive option. It's about 140 bucks as an add-on to get the Bluetooth adapter. Or you can buy a USB cable that connects to your laptop, and you can use your laptop. So we did the Bluetooth adapter because I didn't want to have to worry about having a laptop in the car, and because this gives you some additional capabilities with data logging and with making changes to the car while you're driving it. So we're going to open this up. There are 4 flathead screws on top, and let's just say there's more thread than you think there's going to be. Now these are for racing use only. You should note that they have the ability to be turned off. So you can install this on a car that you maybe intend to take to the track. You can disable it while you're not at the track, and then you can re-enable it when you go to the track. So we're going to plug this in here, just like that. This guy is already obviously plugged in, and we're going to reinstall this cover. And this cover is aluminum. So we'll tighten up the cover on this guy and then go over to the car. The first thing we want to do is remove this intake. So there are 2 10s, one here and one here, that are going to need to be pulled. The only tools we're going to need are a 10 mil and an 8 mil. So take our 10. This will slide up. It like interlocks here, and there's like a tab here that you just push back right where my thumb is on the front of the airbox. You push this back, this slides up, and then that comes out. And all that is a duct for this guy. Now, there are 2 sensors that we need to connect to. One is right here, and one is right here. So we can get at both of them from this position that we're at right now. The next thing that we want to do is we want to remove this cover over here where the battery is, because that's where the actual computer is going to go. So this rubber gasket just pulls up. It's just sitting there. We'll slide that back. There is an 8 here, an 8 here, and an 8 here. So we've got 3 8s that are going to take off this front cover. So let's remove those. Depending on which version your car is, you might not have this strut tower bar. Mine is a JCW Clubman, so it does. But the 2-door does not. And I don't think the non-JCW version does either. So this just lifts up, and then this is in like 2 pieces. So if you lift this up and lift this up, you can kind of pull this out. So we're just gonna kind of finagle this out a little bit. Be careful not to break anything. We're just gonna pull this out and get it out of the way. Our unit is gonna go back here. It might be a good idea to remove this cowling as well. Let's see here. That lifts up, this lifts up. So it looks like this whole thing just kind of, yeah, this just pulls out. Slightly different than the 2-door. Let's figure out first where we want our unit to be and where we're actually going to secure it. And then from there, we'll be able to run the wires forward. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the unit and we're going to secure it this general area. There's a little bit of space up in here. There's some space here. We've got a power cable that we can attach it to. The big thing is going to be, this is a metal box. You don't want it to hit both battery terminals. Your battery will explode under your hood. That's going to be a problem if that happens. You probably won't like it. So looking at this, this is the OBD2 connector that needs to go forward. This is the harness that needs to go back here. So let's, we'll take this and we're just going to kind of start routing the wires in the direction that we want them. And we're going to work forward from here because the unit is large and the connectors are small. So it's easier to route the connectors than it is to route the unit, right? There's a couple different plastic pieces that meet right here, and there's a gap where some harnesses are already running. So we're going to put that right there. We're going to remove this 10mm bolt right here for the air box so that I can tuck this underneath. And this is just a rubber mount. We're only going to be removing this temporarily. So let's take that out. We're going to tuck this wire under here. When you're running wires anywhere, you should route them in the same way that the factory ran the wires. So in this case, there's a bunch of hood releases and harnesses and hoses and different things. So like, I'm going to run this along with those. If the factory felt that it was a safe path, then I should be comfortable thinking it's a safe path too. All right, so this right here is one of the harnesses that we need to plug into. So what we can do is there's a white clip right here. We're going to pop that out. And then once it pops out, you can squeeze it, and that is the release for the harness. Like that. And we can see this is a 3-pin plug that matches the 3-pin plug that I have here. So we're going to connect this. This can only go one way. It's got like a flat side and a rounded side. Clips into place. Lock that in. And then this one, same thing. Clips into place. Lock that in. So that's now in place. And we're going to want to zip tie this up so that it's not flopping all over the place. So they recommend that you connect these two together with a zip tie. I'm going to zip tie these together. So where this harness is coming from, I'm going to zip tie this to that because there's a retainer right there. We're going to clip this nice and tight. Now, this is a hose, so like you don't want to put your thing around the hose because you're going to collapse the hose. You know, just be smart about this stuff. So coming back here, we get to our next harness sensor, which is right here. So it might be easier if you have like a pick or a pry tool or something like that to get that apart. So I'm gonna go grab one. All right, so what we're connecting to now is this guy right here. So it's right over here, down a little bit. There's another sensor. It has that white clip. Something like this tool works really well. It's a snap-on, it's not a pick. It's a, it's like a, I always call them spoons. It looks like a little spoon. So unclip this, and we're gonna look here. So we have 2 left. This is a 4-pin. This is the 4-pin. So we will connect this together. Again, there's a flat spot on one side. So flat spot to flat spot. Clip it in. And then same thing here. We've got that in place, nice and connected. Clip the retainer in. You should hear like a positive click, like you just heard from me clicking this one in. So we're gonna come back here. Now there is another harness here, but this isn't gonna be used, so we're actually gonna tuck that back up in here. That is an optional expansion that they say is for highly modified cars. My car is not highly modified. It's actually stock besides this. So we'll zip tie that together. We'll zip tie this together. And this is kind of what I was saying, like when you think about your cable routing on the way forward, it's a lot easier on the way back. Okay, and we're also going to bring this guy back because it's not going to be used. And we'll tuck this up with all of the other factory stuff. There's a cable here for the hood release that we can secure this to. I mean, the goal here with this is just to keep these wires from getting caught in other things, getting melted by things that are around it, creating issues. You lose one of these sensors when you're driving down the highway, could put your car into limp mode, could cause other issues. But there is a wiring harness right here in the same spot where I'm running my cable, which tells me that this is a good, safe location to run wires. The next thing that we can do is we can start putting the front of this back together. We've got our 10 mil that holds this air box down. Let's put that back in. We can put our duct back in. This just, like I said, slides in here. And there's 3 points, one, and then these 2 screw holes right here, which have 10 mils in them. So now back here, we've got all of our stuff up into this area, right? So there is the unused harness, which is this one here that they talk about on the paperwork. There is the OBD2 plug, which is right here. And then there is the unit itself. So I'm going to take this OBD2 plug and I'm going to disconnect it from this harness. And it's got this little plastic plug on it. And we have to get that out here from inside because this needs to plug in inside the car. But there is a hole where the clutch would be in this car if it was a manual. And it's right here. And it's really hard to see. They show it pretty well on the diagram if you look at the instruction manual. So the brake booster is right there, And next to the brake booster is a empty spot that looks like that. My car is an automatic, so it's completely empty. It's just a rubber grommet that's sitting literally right here where I'm putting my hand in. So kind of like the brake booster's right there, it's right above the brake booster. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to pop out that rubber grommet, and we're going to put this wire through that hole. I just pushed my finger through the rubber grommet. We're gonna pop that out. And this right here is the rubber grommet. That's what it looks like. You can see this side from here, and you push this through. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little slit in this, and I'm actually going to run my wire through this out of the car. So let's grab my little cutting pliers, and we'll fold this in half. We'll make a slit this way, and then a slit this way, and this way. So we're basically making an X. And this is no more room than a clutch cable would go through if it had a clutch cable, so I'm not worried about water leakage. Just remember, this side goes out, so the flat side is in. So we're gonna stick this through this way like that, just like that. And then I'm gonna put this back through that hole on the inside. Here's just a quick shot of this grommet. You can see, so here is the hinge on the side of the hood. The brake booster's right there, right above it. You can see this hole that I'm pointing at right there behind my finger. That hole is where that grommet is. I wanted to give you an in-car view. So if you look up, you can see the hole right there where the wire's going through. See that 3 wire? And then I tied up the excess here next to the OBD2 plug using a zip tie. I was able to get my wire through the hole right here. I can pull up on this. There we are. Now, I do have to get that little rubber grommet to seat, and you have to be like a contortionist to get in there. I think I can do it. This grommet's tough to get in from the inside. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip it over, and I'm gonna put it in from the outside. You can actually push it all the way through. It's not much bigger than the hole. So let's see if I can. Oh yeah, that's way easier. Okay, so push the grommet all the way through, then take it flat side out, flat side towards the engine. So flip it over, put it on the wire and push it in. And then here, we're gonna take this and we're going to run it. So we kind of come out behind the brake booster right now. So what I'm gonna do is go down where the wire harness is, and then follow the wire harness over to the battery. So like that. We're running this up by the power wires, which are right here, into this harness, which is right here. And we're going to plug this in, just like that. Now, we can pull back a little bit. So what I want to do is I'm going to zip tie this back here just to keep all of these cables together. And I'm going to push the slack inside the car. I think that that's a better place to deal with it. Not all of it, but most of it. And then there's a hood release cable, which is right here. It's like a metal cable sitting right next to that hole. So I'm just going to zip tie this to that and keep it from getting caught in the wiper arms, which would not be good. And I apologize. I know some of this is hard to see. I promise that it makes sense when you're in here, but these camera angles are really hard to get well without a cameraman. So now we've got two things to deal with. One is this extra harness, which we're going to just tie up here by the negative battery cable. The harness is tied in. Now we have the unit itself, needs to be put somewhere, as well as this antenna. I don't love where they instruct you to put this, which is under the battery door. I'm sure that some cars aren't as packed as this one is, but it's like there's two battery terminals right here. This is a metal box. If it hits both of them at the same time, that's a problem. You've got your brake reservoir here. It has to sit on like a negative battery cable. I don't love it. So I'm taking some adhesive backed Velcro, which is the fuzzy side. And what I'm going to do is we're going to wrap this around here like that. We're going to do that twice. And that's going to keep us from having like rattles and bangs and creaks and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to take this other one, this third piece, and I'm going to put it right here. We're going to wrap it around that guy. And maybe you don't have the stabilizer bar and that makes this easier for you. My F56 doesn't, so it would stand to reason. This could be a JCW thing, it could be a Clubman thing. I'm not 100% sure. So here's what I ended up with. There's the JB4. I mount it to this guy. I wrap this in Velcro, wrap the JB4 in Velcro so it's up high. And then this is the Bluetooth adapter. It comes out this side. And we want it to stay out of this wiper motor that's right there. So what I'm probably going to do is just zip tie it to this hood cable that's right here, or to this wiring harness that's right here. Is probably a little bit better bet once I put my duct back in. This is the duct. There's like a circular hole down here into the wheel well. So it just goes down and sits in that hole. Doesn't really like lock into place or anything crazy. Again, just keeping careful of staying out of the wipers, which there's these big metal arms that run the wipers that go right here. And on the other side, obviously, too, because there are two wipers. So this is tied up here, just like that. This covers first. It goes this way, and this just slides in here like that. And that's actually pretty perfect. So that just sits there. The unit's actually right here, but it's wrapped in Velcro, so it shouldn't rattle. Here's the battery cover. My JB4 placement is a little in the way. I actually do like this though. Okay, we're gonna modify this plastic slightly. So what's happening is the JB4 is sitting right here on this angle, but I feel like if I cut this back a little bit and let the JB4 rest on that, it's actually going to provide support and keep it from rubbing other things. So I'm just going to trim this down and make a little L here. I'll be right back. You can see there's an angle on one side. That's why I did the other. It's made an L. So let's put this in here. Lift this guy up. Get this into position. Yeah, that's perfect. That's how you want to do it. That's how I would recommend doing it. I mean, obviously you do stuff like this at your own risk, but that's how I would do it. That's how I did do it. So, all right. So let's talk JB4. Let's talk cost. This thing's like $600. By the time you add in the that little adapter over there, it's almost $7. The Bluetooth adapter. That's like $129. The other one's like $5 something. Put a link in the description. It's not an affiliate link. You cannot buy this in California. because of emissions. They can't sell it in the state of California. If you buy the Bluetooth adapter, you need to buy an app as well from the App Store, and the app is $27.99. So you should know that too. You would think you buy the unit, the app that works with the unit and is only really for the unit would be free because you can't use it without the unit, but nope, it's $27.99. So I bought that as well. So yeah, it ends up being like a $700 deal. Now, my flash tune and my hard top over there was $1,000. And I have to pull the ECM out to do it, or take it to the guy that can do it. And then if you're in a state that has emissions testing where this might fail, such as California, a unit like this, you can disconnect and bypass really easily. But a flash tune, you have to pull the ECM out and have it reflashed back to factory, which is much more work. So if you're wondering why to get one versus the other, there's a reason. So we've wrapped everything up here. Going to start the car, see if we run into any issues. I like doing a little once over, just make sure everything's tied up. All right, so everything looks good, no check engine light. I'm gonna take it for a spin, see how it works. Be right back. So all the gauges and everything are now working. One of the things that I ran into, so when you go here to settings, you'll see firmware version. So if you go to advanced firmware update, you can modify your firmware. And there's this option to browse the latest firmware files. So as a default, this car, because it's a Mini, chooses this Mini Cooper B38, B46, B48. But there was a pop-up that came up that said something about like, if you're using a newer Mini, you need to choose the BMW B58 profile. So it's this number 58, this one right here, that says BMW B58, B48, B38, and that's gonna choose the newer one. So I picked that, 58, 48, 38. I'm running this firmware JB4 P58 BX8 V22 T4, and it runs really good. There's definitely a difference between, so you can flip maps on the fly while you're driving, so I can just click here and I could choose map 1, map 2, map 0, valet. Because I have 91 octane in the car right now, I don't have the option to do like map 3, well, and some of these other targets. So like map 3 is 93 plus. Map 2 is 91 to 93. So I did try map 2. I also tried map 1. I got performance out of both of those. Map 0 is just JB4 disabled, so you can click on that and go back to stock. And valet is like a weak mode where it's not providing boost. It still has quite a bit of get up and go, but it's limiting the car. So I did test out map 1 and map 2. You can do some data logging here. So actually you can see my IATs because it's still reading the temperature. So you can start logging, you can actually log your data, and you can upload those logs to JB4 so that they can say, oh yeah, you're good to run map 2, or oh, you're not because your gas is too poor, etc. So I'm gonna continue playing around with it. At this point, I only put a couple miles on the car, just took it down the street to the gas station and back. I'm gonna drive it around for a little bit. I'm gonna come back and finish this video up after like, 2 or 3 weeks using this on the car, but so far so good. It's working really well. Okay, so Mini Clubman is awesome. Love the new tune. It works really well. I like the app. The app is super cool. I realize it's kind of annoying because it's like 25 bucks added on to this thing that you already spent $700 for, but it does give you a dashboard where you can actually see a bunch of different gauges, and you can customize this. So any one of these gauges I can click on, and I can change this to be something else: trans temp, water temp, throttle position, trims, RPM, pedal. There's a whole bunch of different stuff here. I like that you can change the tunes on the fly. I have noticed a difference between valet, normal, 1 and 2. which are valet is like a negative boost. Normal is the stock tune. 1 is +3 PSI and 2 is +4 PSI. With 91 octane, I really can't go beyond that safely. So I'm going to do some data logging on 2. I'm going to send that into JB4. I'm going to make sure that it looks good, that my car isn't pulling timing and there isn't issues. And then that's probably what I'll run, you know, for the foreseeable future. The car only has 2,500 miles on it. It's basically brand new. I'm going to start looking at intakes. I noticed my IATs are pretty high. It's like 115 degrees, something along those lines when I'm driving the car. And that seems fairly high to me. It's higher than what I get in the F56 John Cooper Works. That has a different intake. It's an NM intake, but the NM intake pulls from the engine bay and this pulls from the front. So I actually thought this would be cooler, but I think it's just struggling to get air. I'm interested in the e-Venturi. I don't love the idea of having to go to a carbon fiber duct. It would be the only carbon fiber part on my entire car, and I don't think that it looks great. I'm gonna see what I can find that doesn't affect the outward appearance of the vehicle. I don't want it to be apparent that this car has engine modifications. It's California. Cops are a problem. I don't want it to be a problem. I am interested in the Dynon exhaust with the black tips, and I am interested in a different intake for it. Other than that, I'm probably going to keep it stock. I want Jessica to be able to drive it and drive it comfortably. I don't want it to be obnoxiously loud. I want it to be something that is comfortable, reasonable. It's going to turn into my daily in about 6 months when the passport is gone, because the lease is up on that soon. I'm just going to get it into a point where it's something that I can drive every day. I can always count on it. It'll be reliable. And then I can work on, you know, what's my next project? What am I going to do next as a fun car? And the hard top is probably going to go at that point. I realize when somebody posts a video, it's like set in time. And I don't know about the issues that I haven't had yet to like tell you that you're not going to have issues if you're looking at doing this for yourself. So I will commit to, if I have issues with this, I will post in the comments below and I will record a follow-up video. And in that follow-up video, I'll talk to you about the issues that I had, what they were, how it works, etc. I'll do my best to touch on it whenever I'm doing videos that involve the F54. So if you're watching future videos of that car, you'll be able to count on the fact that if I'm not bringing it up or I'm talking about it and I just mentioned that it's good, it'll be good. So come back to this video, take a look at the comments. You'll see if I had a problem or didn't have a problem. Also, you can always feel free to email me. I'm jeff@improvedgarage.com. It's improved-garage, like the hyphen. So jeff@improved-garage.com. You can also go to improved-garage.com, and down at the bottom there's a contact you page. You can click that and you send me a message. You can comment. I respond to every single comment, so feel free to ask me how it's going, how I like it, all of that. But the too long didn't read version is right now it's working well. I like it, I'm happy with it, and I promise that I'll provide you an update if I'm not. So thank you, have a great day.